much more than I'm a technologist, but good engineering approaches must be based on the best and most appropriate science.
The best theoretical backing.
Well, theoretical and experimental science backing. Yeah. It's not just theory. It's a real mistake to characterize, the evolutionary work as just theoretical, because, I've been in the business of producing longer-lived organisms almost my entire career. They live, they breathe, as it were, for the way insect breathes. They're real. There's nothing unreal or speculative about anything that the evolutionary approach to aging is about. If you think about a good engineering project, you would really want to have good science. You'd want to have a good mathematical foundation. You'd want to have worked out model systems. Like when you're building a bridge, you're going to build a big bridge. Well, you might first build a smaller bridge to scale, right?
Yep, that's right.
And that's what I've done. I've spent my career addressing the project of, gee, how can I make a fruit fly live longer? And of course, in terms of making people live longer, it's not the complete solution, and I don't suppose for one moment that it is. But even from an engineering standpoint, you want to have these really good model situations. And actually, in the biological context, we're in a better position than we are with physical engineering projects, because a lot of the genes I've been tweaking over these decades are also in us, doing very similar things.
Okay.
So we are already on the way to working out a lot of the problems with human aging, chronic disease, and indeed even the transition to biological immortality for humans.
All right. Great news. Yeah, we should all be excited about that. I wanted to ask, do you have a couple more minutes for a couple more questions? Usually I try not to go too long here.
Sure.
Okay, you do have a couple of minutes. Okay, you can kind of keep these answers short if you would like. I don't want to keep you all into the afternoon here. What about, let's say, Aubrey and his SENS platform, say all 7 of his SENS platform ideas, he's accomplished all of them. And in the next 10 years, let's say, it is great, it's wonderful. What do you expect will be left after those 7 damage, damage theories of aging, those 7 are taken care of? What would you say is left after that that could possibly cause aging and death in humans?
Okay, well, here's the bad news, Justin.
Okay. Bad news first.
Bad news first. I've spent decades trying to estimate how many, independent pathways are involved in the aging of a. We've got some feedback here. Involved in the aging of a complex animal, one as complex as a fruit fly, and the answer is hundreds of pathways. Now, to the extent to which Aubrey has successfully, right now, identified 7 of those pathways, and to the extent to which over future years he successfully resolves the issues involving those 7 pathways, I'm all for that. I don't think I'm opposed to that. To me, that's just the start. We will be doing this project for thousands of years to come. And we will be extending human lifespans out to the hundreds and thousands of years as we do that. And in this process, we will be working with hundreds of pathways, not 7.
Okay, hundreds of pathways. There's a lot of different pathways that we have to yet consider, even if we do clean up some of the damage. Someone asked earlier about how your lab works. How where's your source of funding? I guess it kind of goes along with that. What is right now in the near future, in the next months, 6 months, next year, next 2 years, what is on your table as far as longevity research? What are you working on right now?
Well, I have one graduate student, Parveen Shahrastani, who is working on the physiology of the transition from aging to immortality. What we've published so far is really about the aggregate patterns of survival and death and reproduction in the transition from aging to immortality, but she's also working on the physiologically what's really happening. And that's very exciting work. And I also have another graduate student, Molly Burke, who's working on the genomics that underlies this in collaboration with a very good genomicist in my department, Professor Anthony Long, who is one of the co-authors on the Nature Genetics paper I published with him and other colleagues this month. You can easily find out what we've done recently by going to Web of Science and typing in Michael R. Rose.
Okay.
You'll get lots of recent activity.
That's Web of Science?
Web of Science or
Okay.
Web of Knowledge.
Okay.
That's a fantastic resource. And also PubMed. It's not as good, but it's pretty good. So those are two of the main themes that relate to aging, at least in my lab. One is the physiology of the transition from aging to immortality. The other one is the genomic substructure of aging.
Okay, another question too that some people that we're always interested in at the Institute is how can we help? And this is another place where it seems Aubrey has a little bit of an advantage in that it's easy to get volunteers to help out in the type of research that he's doing. For example, for Lysosens down at the Biodesign Institute, hey, we all donated lab soil samples from around the world to see what if we can come up with some enzymes, of course, to break down some advanced glycation end products, and certain things like that. There seems like a lot of ways that even the layman can get involved, kind of cooperative kind of research here. Is there any way that people can help with sense? I mean, it does seem like be a very highly technical research field, but is there any way, or any future way you can think that people can get involved?
Well, I actually run a lab that's overwhelmingly run by volunteer students. I also have graduate students and time postdocs. But we have actually, to me it's very wonderful because of the interest so many people have in aging problems. We have an unlimited amount of students. And we also have pretty large facilities. So, if somebody wanted to help the kind of research that I do, about the only thing that we're limited by right now at all is simply cash for our supplies. So I'm not requesting money to support me simply, or my graduate students, or my undergraduates. And the numbers can go up to 200. Right now, I think we're at 80 or 90 people in my lab. But if any of your listeners would like to make a donation to the University of California Irvine in support of my research, I can assure them that we will spend it on the project of getting to the control of aging and the achievement of biological immortality.
Okay.
More likely in their lifetimes than mine, since I'm in my 50s. While I hope that my work will help achieve the slowing of human aging in my lifetime, I don't expect it to give me biological immortality, but if you have a 23-year-old listener, the kind of work that we do might someday give them biological immortality.
Well, I'm a little more positive. I think you've got a great chance.
Well, thank you, Justin.
There's a lot of people working on it, as you know, not only your lab and many evolutionary biologists, but also Aubrey and
Sure.
There's a lot of money going toward it right now. It seems to be a lot of momentum going. Two more questions. That's it. I promise. One is a little bit technical, but I thought it was a pretty good question here. How would you answer this criticism concerning the approach of a directed selection toward long-lived animals, and then analyzing the gene changes, the genetic changes? What about animals that have early pathologies due to defective alleles? Wouldn't you be detecting those instead of actual anti-aging strategies or anti-aging genes?
That's a really good question. And, when you live in the world of words, that seems like an interesting juxtaposition, interesting contrast.
Yeah.
But when your work comes from equations, which mine does, though there are two ends of a continuum, the kinds of genes that kill organisms early are shaped by the force of natural selection in one way, namely they tend to be screened out very powerfully. The genes that are going to kill you later are the genes that natural selection doesn't screen out very well. And then it's a continuum in between. So it's not a dichotomy, it's a spectrum. And our whole game is about tuning that spectrum, tuning all what happens with all kinds of bad genes and also some good genes, so as to produce an organism that lives radically longer and way better health.
Okay, that makes perfect sense to me. Thank you